So this is season 3, episode 6 of Who is Mr. Robot? I know, it's been a while since I've done these. I kind of took some time off. I really didn't feel much like putting on makeup and recording a video for kind of a hot minute. So I was live streaming. If you haven't seen those videos, they're kind of funny, my Outlast ones. I want to say I did like a little Fortnite one. I did do a fragrance review, so that's how I started my channel. I decided to throw it back for a hot second. So I don't know, I'm just deciding to kind of, finish the rest of the season before season 3 creeps up, either this summer or this fall, a little bit in between. I haven't really kept up. I just know that season 3 is on DVD and Blu-ray. It has been for a little while now. And I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon Prime, so if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it there. And I do apologize if you're going to hear background noises because there's like a thunderstorm, lightning storm. We have a severe weather warning and flash flooding and stuff. So if you hear like a bunch of like noise and stuff, there's like rain that's like hitting hardcore. There's like booming randomly. The power may flicker, so bear with me. It's not really the best situation for filming, but I was like, hey, I just want to record at least something for y'all. But anyways, this is episode 3.5, Kill Process. And if you remember in the last video, that was basically the episode that I believe was filmed all in one shot. And that was the one where they're like riding the building and Angela's like on the little computer and stuff like this. And she finally meets Elliot at the end. She's like, because Elliot's like, Angela? Because that was kind of after Darlene kind of, spilled the beans that like, oh, I'm working with the FBI. Angela's not really the Angela you think she is and stuff like that. So getting into it, we open up the episode. We see Angela and Elliot. Darlene talking about the FBI and talking about Angela, stage 2, and Price and the UN, White Rose's plan to get all that out of the way. We see Dom, talking about Tyrell and everything, the gunshot in the car. When Tyrell got arrested, and that officer was like, oh, wow, I can't believe I arrested Tyrell. And then they come and rescue him by killing the officer while Tyrell's like I think he's breaking his thumbs or like his fingers to get out. When Joanna was shot and like the blood is on the baby, we see Irving and Angela, and then we see Angela, I believe, when she was talking with the lawyer in season 1, I believe. Or maybe it was season 2. I want to say season 2. We see E-Corp and Angela, and then we see Angela and Mr. Robot when they're talking on the subway. So that's, like I say, there's like little flashbacks from previous seasons, previous episodes where they kind of like, I guess, not really emphasize on those stories a little bit more, show you a little bit of, oh, maybe this is the reasoning why, or like this is, for this or that. But again, it's just something to kind of like help tie everything in together, kind of not really going chronological order, but showing you like little bits and pieces of this or that kind of piece in together the whole photo and maybe the whole reasoning behind like, what Angela's doing, what's wrong with Elliot, what Mr. Robot may be up to, like, like kind of little Easter egg things or hints as to, oh, this is the real reason. So anyways, we open up and we see this girl. She's like watching cartoons basically. And I think the lights just flickered, so I'm pretty sorry about that. And we see Mr. Robot, he's walking Mr. Alderson, Elliot's dad. And he's like, oh, Elliot has this on VHS or something. And she asks where he is, and he's like, oh, he's not here. He really wasn't feeling up to it and everything like this. And Angela, which is a little girl, she was like, oh, well, I don't want to be here either. Like, she's, I guess, not in the mood or not. I don't know, it's like, I guess when you have kids that like grown-up things, like they kind of just zone themselves out. Like, I guess like if you've ever been like at an event or something, you're kind of just like keeping to yourself and you're just like, I don't want to be here, but I'm here and I can't really leave. Like, I guess that's kind of the moment she's having. And he's saying like, oh, there's nice people and everything and there's cake, and she's like, oh, I'm not hungry, but that bitch was eating popcorn, so she's a fucking liar, Angela. And then it's like, if I was over there and stuff and I had Elliot or whatever, it's like I would, like, come talk to me. Like, that's what he would want as a parent. Trying to get through to Angela, like, that she probably knows what the party is, which we're going to find out in a hot second. And, like, just go talk to your mom, like, go talk to your parents. And obviously this has a deeper meaning when we switch over in the scene real quick. And she's just like, ugh, like, she's kind of, I don't want to say resentful, really, but she's just, I guess, really just keeping to herself. We'll just keep it at that. And he talks about the first movie Back to the Future, and like I guess like there was a dance or something, and he's like, oh, you know, then this wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have gotten married here or whatever, and like this person would have disappeared from a photo. And she's like, yeah, I guess, you know, like trying to, I guess, come down to her level maybe, or do something to kind of get through to her the idea that he's trying to say. And he tells Angela also that if Elliot ever needs help, like basically, will she make the promise to him to be there for him? Because he's not always going to be there, and like he knows, like, oh, you know, Angela's Elliot's best friend and stuff like that. So that's one way that they can stay together and stuff. So then we go to the mom, and I believe the lawyer that Angela talks to in season 1 or 2. And I think she mentions the anonymous manufacturing. That's what I heard or something. You can correct me down in the comments below. And Angela's mom basically says that, you know, she already has the decision. She wants no more treatments. She just wants to spend time with her family. Whatever time she has left is whatever time she has left. She's already come to accept her fate, that she's going to die of leukemia and stuff like that due to working at Evil Corp and everything like this, that they were, you know, finding out all the bad that Evil Corp did. And she's just like, you know, like, that's it. Like, I want to spend time, like, again, with her family, with Angela. And I guess they've already had the talk, and maybe Angela's more of an intellectual child, which is why she's feeling so different in this way, which is why I said this scene kind of probably explained why Angela was feeling the way she was as a child, and maybe why she is so, I guess, off as a grown-up, so to speak. I mean, so is Elliot, but they went through the same thing, basically. And the lawyer basically says, you know, like, you know, we're never going to stop fighting for you and your family, and they're going to continue on with the lawsuit and stuff, which we kind of saw didn't really, I wouldn't know if you want to say continued or happened or was the truth, because I believe when Angela went to the lawyer, she kind of found out that, like, you know, kind of the cases dropped, so to speak. Like, there really wasn't anything else that they can do until I think Angela found all those other records and, like, okay, you know, we can go into it. And she kept going back, like, I want a job here or something, but it was just like, it's not happening. And they're talking about the party and, like, how do you like it? And Angela's like, it's weird and stuff. And then, like, her mom was like, I'm dying. Like, you know, like, that's it. And that's probably why it's weird. That's probably why Angela's in a mood. More or less the reasoning behind why she says she doesn't want to be there when she was talking to Mr. Alderson, and how Elliot wasn't feeling up to it. Because, I mean, obviously Elliot's dad was in the same boat. He died of cancer too, so I guess Elliot probably didn't want to be around, like, let's say 2 people who are not going to be there, and then, like, see Angela and be like, how are we going to get through this, you know, as kids and such. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking from a child's perspective here. And then she's saying that she basically hates all of it, and that you'll never see us again, or, like, you know, like, individual, like the father or Angela, or, like, you know, any of the family, so to speak. And her mom's like, I'm always going to be there and stuff. And she tells her that she needs her to believe that that isn't the end, like, when she dies, you know, physically, that she's not there anymore. And she mentions another world. And this is where I kept saying, going back to the first episode and just this season in general, from what I remember watching it the first time, not really paying attention. And that's why also, I guess, like, I rewatched these episodes, like, about twice-ish, or, like, at least once, then, like, halfway through. And then, you know, because these videos take a while, y'all. And when she says, we can play, we can dance, we can bake, and we can sing, I was like, girl, bake like marijuana. She says, I want you to believe with me. And it's also kind of reminded me of, like, A Wrinkle in Time from Disney. I didn't watch the movie, but, like, the vibes that I was getting, like, that's what I was thinking. Or, like, Tomorrowland, or I don't know. But basically with the whole different or alternate dimensions and stuff like that, like, that's kind of what I feel we were getting here, like a time machine or like magic or something, which is also very odd for this, I think, series in general. Like, if we do go down that road, I feel like they're setting it up in the sense, like, that would be cool to see how they execute that idea. But I do think if it's not executed right, it can end up like American Horror Story Roanoke, where it was just a mess, you know. Like, that's, like, I'm interested, but at the same time I'm like, I don't know, because I feel like this season and this series is kind of like one thing, and the idea of it delving into something like Stranger Things, so to speak, is fun, but I really don't know how well it would be received, you know? Like that's still what I'm trying to like think in my mind as the series progresses, which of course supposedly I believe if I'm still correct, it was like 5 seasons. That's what Sam Esmail had planned on like lockdown, but I don't know if he's tweeted anything recently or whatever that's like, oh, you know, it's gonna be more than 5 seasons, or you know, I made plans to extend it. But that's what I remember seeing from the beginning. So, I mean, we only got 2 more seasons left if that's what we're sticking to. And then we go to Angela crying where she's talking with Elliot after, you know, she did a little hack and she almost died by getting attacked by those rioters and stuff. And she was like, oh, like, I don't know what you're talking about and everything like this. Since Elliot was questioning her. And Elliot was like, I saw you on the 23rd floor. And when they're talking about blowing up the building, he was basically, like, I guess also realizing that you can't just blow up a building because you're gonna, like, blow up the people that are there. So not only are you just destroying like an E-Corp location, but you're kind of murdering people. Like you're not just doing what you have planned, you're doing more. And it's like, whether they realized it or not from the beginning, I guess it's kind of like if they didn't blow up the building when like nobody's there at night, like no one would get hurt, you know, like the perfect scenario. But if they're blowing up the building, like let's say during like rush hour, so to speak, or like when everyone's at work in the building, like everyone's gonna die, which is the problem Elliot now has with it, and that he's trying to get through to Angela. He's like, you know, like you're not seeing this, and like you're okay with that. And then he asks about Tyrell and stuff, and he also says like, you know, like you weren't helping me, you were just manipulating me and everything. And then some rioters come in and stuff, so they move to a little room, and she says that this is basically what he wanted, and after today, like everything's gonna be successful. Like everything Elliot wanted from the beginning of season one, like F Society and like the whole mission, like that's gonna happen. They're gonna achieve the goal. They're gonna get through with their plan. They're gonna get through with everything that they wanted to have happen. They're gonna get Evil Corp back. Angela really, like, she kind of took that on herself, and they're gonna get revenge, and like they're gonna get even greater things now that Angela had like her talk with White Rose. Like she's still kind of on a trip, so to speak, where she's not all there, and I guess she's not really, I wouldn't say mindful or whatever, but she's just not, like they say, seeing the big picture in a way, which is odd because, you know, usually she seems like she would be a smart character, but I don't know. And when they're talking about White Rose and how they met, Ellie was like, you know, like even though like you met White Rose, like whatever White Rose said, White Rose is still a terrorist. Like White Rose has like these probably crazy ingenious plans that seem that they can offer you like closure, so to speak. But you know, White Rose, like how Elliot is saying, is just a terrorist and kind of in it for themselves, and nothing good's gonna come out of being with a White Rose. So there is that. And she kind of, you know, kind of says that Elliot was just missing the courage to see it through. And when they say sound like him, it's kind of like it sounds like you. And by that, it's like Elliot and Mr. Robot, because they are the same person. And that's also what I also think plays into that whole like alternate world or different dimensions kind of thing. Because it's like almost like it's Elliot is here like in person, but at the same time, the same person who exists in another world, so to speak, Elliot's mind, is his father, Mr. Robot. So there is that duality, I guess, in some odd way. And all these consequences are supposedly necessary for all of this, and you know, people will die and it's going to be fine because they're evacuating this building. And including Elliot's father and Angela's mother, like those are the people who are going to be fine. And they, again, it's like, you know, who'd you give the stuff to that she delivered in the package? And, you know, again, what about Tyrell? And then she's like, you know what? Sorry, Mr. Alderson, like, I don't think you're allowed in this building. Like, you were let go this morning. He's kind of just like, he's just like, Angela's like really, she's dead set on whatever she's planning on doing. She's dead set on not changing her mind. She's dead set on kind of just going her own way, kind of doing what she wants to do and not really giving an F about what Elliot's even trying to get through to her mind, and at the same time explain to her the bigger picture and explain to her like this isn't just your, I guess, revolution or anything, but this this is something that's gonna require like a lot. Like, like it's crazy. It's a crazy plan, and it's not gonna have a good ending, so to speak. So then we move on to him talking about so much depending upon a red wheelbarrow, and he's kind of like, and at the same time, when he's having this little like flashback thing with his eyes closed and his head back, it also flashes to Tyrell doing the same thing. They're like, oh, it takes so much for the red wheelbarrow and like this and whatever. And like it's like, I guess they're the same person, but they're not two, or like they just have the same idea. And that it seemed like it was when they were in the roller coaster place, like the little, not the arcade, but like, you guys know what I mean, when they met there. And then it moves on to Dom and Darlene, and she gets a call from Elliot, and she's like, like, where are you and stuff, and this is the address you need to get at the FBI so they can get Tyrell. And Dom's like, like, we can keep him safe, like, we just gotta know, like, is this right and stuff. And like, he's like, oh, like, I gotta go and stuff. So the Red Wheelbarrow restaurant is the address, and Dom is also like wondering, like, what is it that Darlene isn't telling her, because Darlene is like holding something back. So we see writers and we see police, and then they're logging into this like thing, and the CHS and everything like this has confirmation because they're talking about Darlene, and she's talking to her boss Santiago, which kind of reminded me of like the FBI boss from White Chicks. I feel like that was the name of one of the characters or something. And then it's like we have to act before Wellick disappears again. And they're saying, we need this concrete evidence, before getting Tyrell, and like we're only gonna have one shot. Like we can't just run in there based off of what Darlene says, because Darlene really isn't trustworthy. Darlene really isn't a good, I guess not candidate person, but like she's not really a good source, so to speak, even though she's like the source closest. Like she's just, I wouldn't say wishy-washy, but like you just never really know with Darlene. Like, that's the FBI's point of view and stuff. And then we move on to the location burnt, and they need to take care of Wellick, and that's after Dom walks out of the room and Santiago is basically texting it to, like, let's say White Rose, so to speak. And he just looks up and he sees the China annexation of Congo. Like, he looks at his TV after he texts, and he's just like things are happening, basically. It's just, he probably feels with Tyrell, I guess, being arrested, like maybe Tyrell will spill the beans, Tyrell will say this, Tyrell will say that, Tyrell will reveal information about maybe who Santiago is, that Santiago's been keeping him safe, Santiago's known this whole time, or the FBI, or like, something like that. Like, we're gonna find out dirt, so to speak. And we move on to White Rose and Price, and they're at this club, and I was like, Mar-a-Lago. And he's like, oh, we had an eventful morning and stuff. And he's like, wounded little E-Corp, and you're going to sign that accord. It's settled. We both won. It's just time to have a drink and stuff. And then he's like, oh, this is such a fine venue. And White Rose is like, this is just tasteless. Like, this, I guess Price is like, oh, this is nice. And White Rose is like, no, it's not. White Rose just has that attitude. And they're talking about the owner of the place who wanted to go boating with them. They're like making fun of his shorts. They're saying that they're too like tight and they're too short for him, and they're just both like, good. Like, they have a love-hate relationship where I guess it's not even about money and stuff, but just who has the most power or ego, or like Trump and Kim Jong-un. Like, my button is bigger than yours. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting from this, in a way, with their conversation, so to speak. We go to them at Mr. Wellick's location being, compromised or confirmed or whatever. And, like, what are we going to do and stuff like this. And Elliot is also, saying he has to kill stage 2 before anyone dies. And it's like called in this bomb threat, and they have, like, no idea what they're looking for and stuff, but I do. So he uses his security ID to get in, because he's walking in a file of people, and they're like, scanning their IDs and stuff. And Elliot doesn't work there anymore since the previous episode that he was fired. That was the whole thing. He was running around. He was like trying to hide from the FBI and stuff, from being arrested. And then if he were to like scan the thing, like they would know he's in there, and like he would be arrested on the spot probably. And he wouldn't be able to get away. He wouldn't be able to stop the bombing, as later on in the episode. But he had to use that, obviously, to get places around, kind of like in Steel Mountain when he was breaking into a door. He made that lady get off the elevator, and I think when he talked to Bob or something, when he pretended to be like the rich owner version or something like that on like Wikipedia or something. Like that's what he was basically in a way doing. But to save people this time, not to blow up Steel Mountain again, or prevent another Steel Mountain blow up or something. And then he's walking around. He gets in this room. He gets on the laptop, and he's talking about this online patch with the malware and stuff. And he has to overwrite them. And then we see a digital sound. He's like, "Why can't I hit the enter button? Like, why can't I restore it? Like, what's going on here?" And it's Mr. Robot. So we see these goldfish in a taxi place and stuff. And he finds out he lost time. He can't spare. It's probably been like 15 minutes. And he's talking about the hydrogen in the battery room. Hydrogen in the battery room causing this explosion of the building. And that kind of reminded me of that like Thanksgiving scene where they're all eating on the street. It's like Angela Terrell, Darlene, Mr. Robot, Elliot. I want to say Gideon was there. But basically, like our main characters, so to speak, and a little bit extra. They were all there, like, eating in the street, like, if it's Thanksgiving, and then, like, they see the building fall, and they're like, like, so pretty, and, like, that's what we're working for, and, like, I guess these are all the people involved in sacrifice, loss, and we're thankful for. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now in my mind as I'm, like, flashbacking and stuff. And then we move on to Darlene and Dom, and there's, like, no lead and stuff, so, like, what is Darlene to do? Like, Darlene's like, like, what's going on? Like, I'm just here, like, give me something. And Dom's kind of just like, I can't do that. And she also, again, she brings up the fact of, like, whoever she's protecting, like, it better be worth it. Because not only is Darlene just not giving them information, the FBI, but she's not giving them the security to provide for her. Because in order for Dom and them to protect her, like, they need to know who to protect her from and what to protect her from. Because Darlene may know one thing and Darlene may not know the other. Like, let's say for Elliot, like, Darlene may snap into Mr. Robot and, like, kill Darlene or something, like, if he had that trip that Angela was like, oh, like, Darlene this and Darlene that. And Mr. Robot believed it. And when Elliot, like, meets with her, like, what if that were to happen? So I guess, like, Dom's trying to figure something out like that, so to speak. And then we see Dom at a computer, and she asks her partner if he's hungry and if they want to go get lunch. And then he's kind of like, well, if you want lunch, I can go get lunch with you or something. And then it's just like, well, I guess we're going to lunch. Like, it was so kind of not like awkward, but just so like fake, but like staged in the sense of it was just like, oh, we're gonna go get lunch. Like, I guess that's our plan. Like, I guess we're gonna go get lunch, but it's kind of like they're playing hickey, so to speak. Like, that's basically kind of how it was played off as and stuff. So we also see Irving and Tyrell, and Tyrell's kind of like, we have to monitor the fallout. Like, what's happening? Why is everyone leaving and stuff like that? And where's Joanna? And where's my son? And Elliot's back in the room, and it's flashing, everything like this. And with everything, like, gone, and, like, who wants to win the most? That's Elliot's, like, big mind battle right now. Because it's not who has control, but who wants to win that game in the end. That kind of unfinished game of chess, I think, or checker? Chess. That he had at Mr. Robot for full control. Like, whoever wins gets full control, like, no questions asked, so to speak. And that switch, like, when is he Mr. Like, I guess that's what Elliot's trying to be more self-conscious of, like, when he is Mr. Robot. And I guess to talk with Mr. Robot, and not in the sense of, like, I guess season 1 where it looked like Mr. Robot was, like, an actual person. Or even, like, season 2 where he was having that breakdown. It's like, no, he's here, but he's not. But, like, realizing, like, where is he? And, like, I need to talk to myself. I need to get myself straightened out and stuff like that. And then we move on to where he's in the elevator. It's like, can't let him win and stuff. Because, again, he's losing time. And that's basically how it's all going to end. Like, he's going to run out of time in some way, shape, or form. And if you do remember with White Rose is someone who's, like, always punctual. White Rose doesn't have time for this, doesn't have time for that, but has time to, like, kill people, I guess, so to speak. And Dom is also talking about how there's only 15 customers and stuff in here. And Tyrell's given something from Irving, and it's like, follow these instructions. It's like, you're not gonna kill me? And it's just like, Tyrell, like, I'm sorry. Like, he probably is breaking the news to him that either his services aren't needed, or that, and that Joanna is dead and the baby is, like, in foster care or like whatever, like that's what I'm trying to think. Like I'm not sure, but basically bad news. And then we see Elliot, and he's back in the computer lab, and he's like, I gotta stay focused. And then there's this switch again, and there's this talk and stuff like this, and we see Dom, and she's gets her order and stuff, and they offer her that loyalty card where after 10 punches she gets that free milkshake. So it's like Irving in episode 1. And she also asks how long they've been open, and the same girl's like, oh, it's been like 6 weeks and stuff. And it's like, okay. And then we see Elliot, and he smashed all the computers, and that guy ran to the room, and he's saying he has to get to the battery room, and Tyrell's in the dark with that little paper, and they're like, oh, enjoy your meal, Dom. Like, it's flashing to and from different scenes. And the FBI guy, Santiago, is calling his mom, saying, like, you need to stay home today. Like, don't leave your house. Like, just stay home, do what I say. Like, just, stay protected, I guess. And he's, like, protecting the ones he loves, because he is obviously either in deep trouble, he's going to be in deep trouble, or he did something, and, like, he knows you're going to go after his mother. Like, he knows something is up. And then we see Tyrell, and he's burning that envelope, and then we see Dom go to the bathroom, and then Angela's on the train, and there's this person, F-Society mask, and then he just gets up and is like, give me your purses to these old ladies that were talking. And then we see Dom, and she's in the kitchen, there's like this fire or smoke that's happening, and we see the gun in Angela's face again, and these old ladies are like, give him your purse and everything, and then it's just like, she's just there like stunned with like mascara running down her face, which is like a mood every day when you're tired. Like that's, I feel that on a spiritual level. And she says that she's going in and stuff like this, and those old ladies tell Angela, you could have died, and she's like, no, like no one's gonna die. Like she's still in that like mind trip where she's like, everyone's gonna be fine, including my parents or my mom and Elliot's dad. Like she's just on this moment, so to speak, where I mean, I guess even if you die, like you're still alive, because she believes in White Rose or something. Like it's odd, but like that's Angela. I don't know. She's a lost cause, in my opinion, at times. And then we see Dom. She's in that burned room, and then she eventually finds that secret passage. And then we go back to Elliot. He needs to make this vacuum to stop the explosion, and then he falls down the stairs, and there's like this digital distortion breakdown self-abuse moment. And this guy's like, dude, are you okay? Because he's like banging his head on pipes, and he's like throwing himself against the wall, and he's like, they say basically, stop punching yourself, stop hitting yourself. Like that's what he's basically doing to himself, but it's Mr. Robot trying to stop him. And then we see Dom and Santiago, and he's like, what? It was still a win, because Wellick was here and like Tyrell was here, so even though you went against chain of command and stuff, like you're good. And then they see that they want to send Dom back to the office, and he's basically telling her, like, you can sort through the evidence, like, once it's there and stuff, but I guess he just wants everyone out of the room so you can take care of it, because he is in on it, so the FBI is in on it, but it's like, Dom doesn't even know that. So it's like, who is the Santiago guy? Like, is he on White Rose's side? Is he on Price's side? Is he just a pawn that got picked up by someone, and he thinks he's going to do something, but he knows he's in trouble? Like, like, that's kind of, I guess, the idea of what's going on or whatever. And then we move on to a knock at Angela's door, and it's Darlene. She's like, open the door, you bitch, and stuff. And then we see Elliot in the same room hurting himself, and then we flash back to Darlene saying how Angela like basically screwed them over, and how she saw her manipulating Elliot, and the plan to take down Evil Corp was basically theirs. It was Darlene and Elliot's, and like they came to Angela, and Angela's just like playing along, but she isn't, and stuff. And then she gets kind of this message from Elliot, I guess, and stuff. And then we see Tyrell running, which is like, whatever. And they're like evacuating the building, and it's going to be blown up and stuff like this. And why, why shouldn't she be turned into the FBI? That's the question that Darlene is asking Angela. Like, why shouldn't she turn her in and stuff? Like, they're being played and stuff. And that's what Elliot's even, I guess, trying to get through to Mr. Robot, which is the same kind of parallel that we see with Darlene trying to tell Angela, like, you're being played. Like, Angela is to Mr. Robot what White Rose is to Angela. I don't know if that makes sense or if I even worded that right, but that's basically what's happening. And then Darlene's telling her, like, like, that shit's gonna haunt you and stuff, Angela. And, we stop that attack and everything like this, and people are gonna die. You need to open the door. And then she's like, turn me in and stuff. And then Dom's also like, like, what attacked Tyrell? Because Tyrell ran across and, he basically got arrested. And they're in this room, and then there's the phones and everything. It's like, like, we did it because in that room, and while they're on the phones, Elliot was, I guess, able to get through to Mr. Robot to say, like, you're being played. Like, you basically were brainwashed, or you couldn't see through the illusion that they were doing, or see through how they manipulated even him. Even though, like, Mr. Robot is the mastermind, Mr. Robot manipulates Elliot. Like, they were still able to get into Elliot's head, so to speak. Even though, like, he's like, oh, like, I can never let anybody in. Like, I can't let anybody in. Like, there's no way they're gonna get in. Like, they did. And Elliot just didn't realize it, which at the same time was Mr. Robot. So that happened and stuff. And then he's also mentioning how Tyrell and the Dark Army corrupted Mr. Robot, and, like, is there any fight left? And, like, who's gonna fight them, like, them or me? And I feel like that works both ways, because it's like, who is he gonna fight? Like, the Dark Army or the FBI or, like, Price or Evil Corp? And also at the same time, like, who's gonna be the one fighting? Is it gonna be Elliot, or is it gonna be Mr. Robot? Like, I feel like that's a question that is posed on both sides, to be like, who's gonna be the one fighting, and who are they gonna fight against? Because in the same way, like, this is all one big web, like they say, that leads back to Elliot in some way, shape, or form. And, like, it leads to Angela, it leads to Darlene, it leads to Dom, it leads to the FBI, it leads to the Dark Army, it leads to White Rose, it leads to Price. Like, it's just all this craziness. And we see White Rose and Price, and there's this, like, real plan or whatever, and how there's something that they know that I don't, so to speak. And then, it's kind of just silence and stuff, because Elliot's walking down the street and just thinking about all of this. And he says, dang it. He tried to protect that building so bad that he forgot that the bigger picture here was where he failed. So even though he stopped one, he didn't stop what was, I guess, implemented maybe by him, or that they used off of him or something like that. But there were 71 other E-Corp building explosions that had happened, and that's when he walks up, and that's what Angela and Darlene were looking at on their phones, that they were so shocked about. That not only was that building going to be exploded, and that's what Darlene was trying to get through to Angela, like, people are going to die and stuff, like, innocent people, but in the end, 71 other buildings died with who knows how many people inside of them. And I guess what happened here, and I guess this is going to be a tipping point, so to speak, for maybe Angela. Not maybe Angela will have another breakdown, and then we're going to see Elliot and Mr. Robot maybe quarrel a bit more. Darlene's going to be like, oh my gosh, and, like, Dom will maybe find something out about the FBI eventually. And as it progresses, I don't really know where it's going to go, because I keep thinking of, like, what about all this alternate universe stuff, and, like, the dimensions, and, like, a different world, and, like, believe, and this and that, like, we'll see each other get, like, that's the only part that I'm still kind of like, what is going on here? But it just ends with, like, the broadcast talking about those explosions and everything else. So I don't know, you guys, it's a very interesting thing. So anywho, I want to say hi to Rami Malek, stay safe, and God bless.